Have you ever listened to a speaker and thought, this isn't for me? Chances are the speaker didn't understand their audience. In this video, I'll show you how knowing just 5 things about your audience can completely transform the way you speak in public. Hello there! Welcome to my channel. I'm Marie-Jose from Powerful Communication. In my channel, I teach you how to overcome your fears of public speaking. I give you all kinds of fun tips and ideas on how you can overcome those fears, easy to do exercises, and fun games so that you will feel like practicing, whether you do this alone or with your friends. Public speaking isn't about you, it's about them, meaning your audience, your listeners. And if you don't know who they are, how can you serve them well? Here are 5 keys that will help you understand your audience so that you can create a great presentation. The first key is demographics: age, gender, occupation. It affects the way you speak to a group of people. Will you be speaking to a group of elderly people? If you are, you will need to adapt your language for that group. You wouldn't speak to a group of teenagers the way you would speak to a group of CEOs. For example, young people might say, "Hey, yo, what's up? How's it going?" These are all different ways that young generations are talking. A group of elderly people might like to be addressed like, "Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, how are you today? How do you do?" Can you imagine starting a speech with, "Hey, yo," to a group of 80-year-olds? And the same goes the other way around. You wouldn't use very formal language to a group of teenagers. They probably wouldn't dig you. Being too formal in a speech presentation might make you disconnect from your audience. So pay attention to whom you're speaking to. Key number 2 is the level. Your audience, are they beginners or expert on a specific topic? That is, if you're giving a more technical presentation, too much jargon can confuse. On the opposite side, being too simplistic to a group of professionals might sound a little bit condescending to your audience. Also note that even if you're talking to a group of people who have a certain level of vocabulary and technical terms in what field, it doesn't mean that all the members of the audience are part of the same field. So in some cases, even if you're speaking to a group of experts or professionals, you may need to adapt your vocabulary to everyone. For this reason, you need to know who your audience is beforehand. Key number 3 is interest and value. If you're going to give a presentation to a group of people, it would be a very good idea to know what their interests are. What do they care about? What's relevant to them? Tapping into their interest will create an emotional connection, and this connection will create retention. Key number 4, expectations. Beforehand, know what the purpose of the talk is. Is your audience there to learn something, to be entertained, or to be inspired? The same speech won't work for a TEDx talk and a training session. Key number 5 is cultural background. I think it goes without saying that background is very important when you give a talk. Are you going to use humor, anecdotes, personal experiences? Depending on the type of presentation that you have to give, your language will be different. And the way you present yourself, whether you need to speak fast or with a lot of emotions or with a serious tone or a jovial tone, for example, this will all depend on the content and the purpose of the speech. Also remember that using facial expressions, pauses, and tone of voice, all of these contribute to the language of your presentation. Also, you need to adapt to the culture. Are you giving a presentation in your own country? Or are you giving a presentation in a different country, for example? If the latter is the case, you need to know the cultural differences. What will work in your country may not work in a different country. In some cases, you may even offend the people you're talking to if you make blunders and if you don't know who you're talking to first. So how do you know who your audience is? Well, the first thing you can do is ask the organizers. They will let you know what type of audience is coming, what exactly the purpose of the presentation should be, and they will give you all the information that you might need in order for you to create a great speech. Also, try and find out if the people that are asking you to give a speech, do they have a website? Are they on LinkedIn or any other social media, for example? You can get a lot of information from there. And if those organizations have a website, check for past events and look for the previous presenters and see what type of speeches they gave. That will give you a very good idea on what you can talk about. Another thing is observe your audience. I often make small changes before my presentation when I realize that the audience that is in front of me does not fit what I prepared. So it doesn't mean that you need to rewrite your whole script. First of all, you won't have time to do that, but just a few changes here and there in the pace, a few adjustments as needed. Another thing that you can do is use personal anecdotes. I remember one of the first times I gave a presentation at my club, I wanted to make people laugh, so I told a joke from my country. It was a long and a little bit complicated story, which is very funny in my country. However, in a different culture, they didn't understand the punchline, and I didn't get a laugh. It was a little bit disappointing. However, I did learn a great lesson. Always use local jokes or anecdotes. Now, those jokes and anecdotes are supposed to be helping you clarify your message. So don't add contents that is not relevant to your presentation. If you're going to add a joke, make sure it complements your story. So for a funny story to be effective, it needs a great punchline. And that's how you grab your audience attention. So the next time you give a presentation, always ask yourself, who am I talking to? As much as possible, do some research and find out all the details that you can. If you've had some difficult experiences, did you overcome them? And if you did, tell me how you did. I'd love to hear about that. I hope this video was helpful to you. If it was, please consider giving it a like, sharing the video with your friends. Please subscribe to my channel because it really helps me. Thank you so much for spending the time with me today. I'm looking forward to seeing you in my next video. Goodbye.